Welcome back to all the subscribers. The main thing before we get started, the auction league for viewers and subscribers is open. I got some emails out there to a few people. They've joined up. We've got some more slots open. Some people had already expressed interest in the comments. I know they dropped me emails. I tried to go back and comb through the comments as much as I could to send you guys invites, but I feel like I couldn't find like 4 or 5 of you. So if you want to get in to the viewer league, the viewer auction, I have it set up for this Sunday, the 17th, I believe. Just email me or drop your email in the comment. I'll send an invite. If you want to email me at DailyJLee@protonmail.com, you can email me there. I'll check that. I'll send you an invite from there. We're trying to fill it up. We got to see how it fills. I wanted to get it going sooner rather than later in case we had a lot of interest and we wanted to jump into another league, maybe a bigger league, maybe a different scoring system. I didn't move the goalposts on you too far. It's going to be 10 cat, the stuff we've been talking about all season. The one thing I changed, I added FAB, free agent acquisition budget, to the waiver system because I think that's more consistent with auction. Also, I added 1 ad drop per week. Yahoo gives 6. I made it 7. And Yahoo, when you set lineup, you make lineup changes. They don't occur until the next day. Changes occur that day. I think that's a little bit better, give you more control over your team. So definitely, if you're interested, if you want to get in an auction, I'm in there. We got a couple other boys that have been subscribers for a little bit. They're in that league, so I got some slots. Hit me up. Let's get into some fantasy baseball. So the first thing I got to say, I got to just vent a little bit. I'm in this slow draft. My goodness. And what can I say about it? I'm going to save the players. I'm going to save the analysis for the end. I can go through the picks that I made and some of the surprises, things I'm learning from the slow draft. But oh my God, why not just have the draft and just have us spend the 3 or 4 hours? This thing started on Friday. It's been 5 days. It's 4 hours per pick, and there's a sleep time overnight. But you have to check the league all the time. You're constantly checking in. I don't know if it's going to go fast, if it's going to go slow. I wanted to drop a vlog yesterday. I'm here at like 3:30. I'm 1 pick away. I'm 1 pick away at 3:30. This guy didn't pick for 3.5 hours. 3.5 hours. It was sick. I took a nap. I woke up. Finally, he had picked. I'm not sure if the slow draft. I can't wait till this is done. It's 28 rounds. We're in the 11th round in 5 days. I'm averaging about 2 picks a day. It's just a mess. I'm not sure about this format. I guess it's to give everybody a chance to make decisions. But a couple things are coming out for me in this slow draft format is that in the end, when you're faced with the tough decision, what we're really doing in preseason prep is we're getting to know players. We want to know the players. And I realized in comparing the slow draft to a regular snake and the importance for it is that you don't maybe have time to make on-the-fly decisions. The pick comes to me, I see who's left. I can take a half hour, I can double check. I can double check Roto World and see if he's healthy. I can double check Fangraphs. I can check on minor league numbers, hard hit. I can make sure I can do some comps. I can do a custom report. I can put a couple guys together. I can compare them, make sure that I'm confident in the pick. And a regular snake that with a minute 30 a pick, you're not going to have time to click through all these websites and make these comparisons. So that's where I say put the work in beforehand. And wherever you have a guy, if he's up a little bit, you've already put the work in the list and you're comparing between 2 guys, don't switch right then. Take the guy who you put up in the list, work through your list. That's why it's important to bring your list into mocks. Bring your list through other drafts with you so that you can figure out these blind spots. You can make sure that you know your players well enough to make certain determinations. And the player comps is tough. One of the things I'm doing, I'm going to add this in, we're going to get into some more pitching, is checking Baseball Savant, checking the pitchers. Now Baseball Savant, I kind of like it more for hitters. It seems to just be stronger for hitters. Exit velo's the big surprise, the big breakout that they have. The barrel rate's a special metric. When it comes to pitchers, the stat that you're getting over there that you're not necessarily getting on Fangraphs is spin rate. So let me give a little discussion on these spin rates. I believe it's in RPM, rotations per minute. Spin rates are fluctuating from the range of about 1,800 to 2,400, maybe 2,500 at the high end. But it's not that simple. You would think that spin rate isn't necessarily correlating to velocity. And it's not that high spin rate is always good. This is kind of the breakdown where I have heard people misquote this about how spin rates work. With the hard stuff, with the fastballs and the cutters and things that are thrown hard, we want the high spin rate. The high spin rate is leading to tails, it's leading to movement, and high spin rate is better on fastballs, things like that. But when it comes to a curveball or a changeup or something more off speed, that ball is supposed to have more of a tumbling effect. So pitchers actually want to get the spin rate down on things like a curveball or a changeup. The lower spin rate will allow the ball to tumble and fall off the table more. Where a high spin rate, if the person has a high spin rate on the fastball, that's great, but if they can't take it off on the off-speed stuff, maybe they're not getting the velocity gap, maybe they're not getting the movement that they seek. So spin rate is something to look at. The other place where they're using spin rate, they used it to identify why Luis Severino was getting tired last season. And they say trainers and staffs, MLB teams are getting better at identifying injury or potential for injury before it happens, because Severino in the second half, while he has a very high spin rate on his slider, on his hard slider, they noticed a drop in his spin rate in the second half, and that kind of showed why he was getting hit. And you see him a little bit injured in this preseason. So spin rates is something to look at. Getting into the exact RPMs, I'm not searching spin rates. They apply differently for different pitches. I haven't found that, a spin rate that's really elite might show why a pitcher has a wipeout pitch, but it's not something that I'm monitoring constantly. The thing that's nice on Baseball Savant, if the player had a full complement of innings last season, they'll give you some sliders. And just popping up, I've been using the visual more on Baseball Savant. It shows if that was great or if that was low end. You can look at players that you know are great. Look at where those sliders are. See how they're up there in elite. And then you can go look at your player that you're about to draft. Do you like where his sliders are? Is he all soft stuff? Is he poor in most areas? Or does he have some high-end, really good talent? As opposed to going down into the menus and trying to decide, he's got a 2,200 RPM spin rate versus a 2,300. I think that gap doesn't capture everything. Pitcher has to be able to have control. He has to be able to sequence. So there's a lot to that. But maybe use those sliders when you're double-checking your pitchers to see who you like. I'm going to get into some players today, get into some preseason rakers. But before that, we just got to touch on Vlad Jr. And I have Vlad Jr. in the slow draft. As you know, I've got him pretty much all over the place in the auction. And we find out that Vlad Jr. Pulled an oblique. We're happy that it's a grade 1 strain. Grade 1 is lower, so we think he can get back from this. But the oblique news is never good news. This is something that doesn't go away. Rib injuries don't go away. There may be something in the kinetic chain. They're talking about, Vlad has a violent swing. He has a violent swing. That's why he's got so much power, because he's taking tremendously hard cuts at the ball. So Vlad's got the injury. We knew we weren't going to have him anyways for a couple weeks, because Toronto wants to kind of jerk him around with his playing time, with his eligibility, his service time. So we were going to miss Vlad anyways. I'm never glad for an injury, but I'm kind of glad that it was at least early March, so he can just be injured, go to the minors. He doesn't need any more warming up. He doesn't need any more work on his plate discipline. He's ready. He's MLB ready. Now we just need him to get healthy. But this is going to kind of extend that window just the way Toronto wanted, just what they wanted to have happen to him. Are we discounting him? Do you not want him anymore? Is April too long for you? There's more risk again. But when he comes back into the season, I still want him for the playoffs. You'll see where I took him at the end of this, where I took him in the slow draft. We'll talk about that. But obviously, this Vlad news is not great. It's not great. Another thing on pitching, I talk about this guy, Eno Saris. When I was coming up early, when I was just a youngster, in my fantasy baseball days, Eno was in there with Sporer on Sleeper in the Bust. And Eno just is a deep dive guy in pitching. He interviews pitchers. He gets to meet with them. He gets into the mechanics. When you add a pitch, when you miss a pitch, his passion for pitching was kind of a foundation for my understanding of pitching. So I love Eno's work. But he left sleeper in the bust. He went to the Athletic. He's hiding behind the paywall. And now we got Justin Mason as sleeper in the bust instead. But Eno, he used to have this thing called the Arsenal score. What he's looking at there is horizontal movement, whiff rates, ground ball rates. These are all things that are good. Velocities. So he was just trying to look at stuff irrespective of outcomes, and it was called his Arsenal score. A lot of people like this. It showed a lot of guys, if the guy pitches really well, does his Arsenal match this? Or you might find some late in the draft guys that have really strong Arsenals. So I don't think he dropped an Arsenal score for 2018. I see some old historic data for 17. But they came out with something new. It's called ACES, ACEES. If you check out this ACES score, this is kind of a collaboration between Eno and a guy at CBS. And they're doing the same thing basically with movement, because movement is better. Straight fastballs, not good. Fastballs with tails, stuff that batters can't barrel and line up, is better. So this ACES score, it pops out. It shows you some really strong guys. It shows you maybe some sleepers. Definitely search this. I'm not going to read the list out. I'll talk about it when I go through some players, when I go through some spring rakers and some spring arms, some guys that kind of popped. One might be Nathan Eovaldi. On the flip side, you might see that Kershaw didn't have very good stuff last season. So ACES is something to definitely think about. They're talking about Command Plus. I just want to touch on what Command is. I haven't searched the Command Plus because it's behind the paywall. But Command, like a Romero who came up for Minnesota last season, he had really hard stuff, but he lacks the control. So it's hard to know when the pitcher, where he's hitting, where he's locating. Did he mean to throw it there? He might have thrown something hard, high. He wanted to be up in the zone, but it ended up being down in the zone and created a whiff. So there's a command element to it. This is where baseball is going. Baseball study keeps advancing, trying to blend command with stuff. Definitely check out that from Saris. Sleeper in the Bus featured Eno. They bring him back occasionally. So on one of the last pods, if you go to their feed, you can check it out with Eno showing up. And you can, in just 1 hour with him, you will learn more stuff about pitching. And what Eno is high on early in the preseason is velo. He's got some velo risers. He's talking about DeGrom ticked up again. 97. They said he's touching 99, 100 with the gun. DeGrom may be the ace this season. He may be the numero uno if Scherzer can't hang on to it as he continues to age. He talked about Julio Urias going down with the shoulder injury. That's where we generate our power and our velocity from. Urias is touching 95, reaching back for 97, so he hasn't lost the velo. He's 4-pitch mix, elite prospect, elite mound presence. So velo is some things he's keeping track of. My issue with the preseason, the spring games, they're not showing the gun. They're not showing the radar readings on most of the broadcasts. I'm a little disappointed with that, but Eno is so dialed in that he's either getting it from the scouts, he's sitting in the stands, he's connected. So you just kind of have to listen to some of these velo movers. But the other thing I'll mix in, that Eno just kept referencing the bat. So there's like 5 or 6 projection systems on Fangraphs. You got your steamer, the fans, which is over the top, ATC. But Eno just preaching the bat. So I'm just going to make you aware of, check out the bat. Eno in that cast said that the bat is the one dropping the tightest projections. They had the best projections from last season. The problem with steamer is that there's a regression analysis. It's regression to the mean. So they don't necessarily catch guys, a prospect improvement, or anticipate some things that are going to happen. A lot of this is about either service time, how many plate appearances. They're very conservative generally, but the bat is something to take a peek at. I had to clear up a couple stats before I get into the spring rakers. I checked out the last video. I was referring to home run per fly ball, but I want to clarify there's also home runs per 9 innings, like K per 9. So home run per fly ball is a variable metric. This is the ball got, fly balls, just it was a pop-up. It wasn't a line drive. The angle was more. It's a fly ball. How many of those fly balls went out? Some pitchers have fly ball tendencies. Some have ground ball tendencies. The home run to fly ball percentage is something like 8% or 15%. Hitters with a really high home run per fly ball rate might be 17%. These are numbers that definitely fluctuate from year to year. You can look at players' career averages and you can say, I don't think he's going to have that home run to fly ball luck like Yelich from last season. His home runs are going to regress a little bit. But the stat that I was looking for with the pitchers really was the home run per 9, which is going to fluctuate between like a 0.5 or 0.8, something sub 1. And a home run per 9 that's not very good is above 1, 1.2, 1.4. So when I'm sorting through these guys and you're seeing them, if you want to differentiate, the home run, if nobody's on base, it's 1 run. It doesn't kill the guy. He just gave up a run. But it's when you mix in some walks, you mix in some people on base, you mix in a hit, and then a home run, now your ERA could be subject to blow-ups. This is why I might discount a Verlander just a touch over somebody who's really able to suppress that home run, guys that can't get barreled up. So I wanted to give that to you. Another reason for pitchers' outcomes to change, and one reason people are fading Block A Snell a little bit, is left on base. Left on base, maybe you walked him on, maybe you got a hit on, you got guys on first and second, first on third. These left on base numbers, they're a little bit luck. How did you get out of that jam? Snell apparently got out of a lot of jams. Some guys can do it. Darvish will walk people. Scherzer's a competitor. He's in there yelling into his gloves, saying stuff, getting pumped up. So when guys are on base, some guys can bite down and grab their stuff and pull it out and leave guys on base and strand guys. But other guys, it's another luck function. So you want to look at that left on base. A lot of times when you see a guy have a really gem start, his left on base might be up at 95%. League average is probably more like 70 to 80%. Something to look at when you're differentiating between your pitchers. So let me get on here. I got some spring rakers for you. Like I said, don't pay attention to these spring numbers. Don't overreact too much. But it is nice to see some guys are making contact. You know that they're healthy. The other thing I'm taking from my spring box scores, just where guys are hitting in the lineup. The managers want to get them ready. These are practice MLB games. Guys are taking serious cuts. Pitchers are working on their stuff. I like the 1, 2, 3. I'm not going to take just because some guy batted 6th or 7th in the lineup and I've never heard of him. He might not make the team. But, your 3 hitters, he wants to get him a look in the 3 spot. Acuna's been bouncing all around. He's been batting 1. He's been batting 4. I saw him bat 2. We don't know where he's going to bat. They're kind of feeling him out. So I was checking on some of that. Let me just jump into some of these players, some things I wanted to touch on that I'm seeing early in the season. Just starting at the top of the list, Trey Turner's making contact. Story's making contact. Keep trusting. Judge looks dialed in. He's mashing. You can keep working there. He's actually climbing in a lot of draft formats because, the secret's kind of out on Judge. Who else? Yelich. He's making contact. I touched on DeGrom with that velo uptick. I've got to pay some attention to him there. Soto's making contact. All the batters. I like what Mondesi's doing. Mondesi's hitting top of the order. We're not playing around. He's got an HR. I think he's taking a base. Looks like he's going to bat first or second. I like that. He's not coming in just whiffing and having batter regression. We're good there. I'm trusting the batters. Goldschmidt's hitting. We knew that was going to happen. He looks healthy. It's going to keep happening. Rhys Hoskins. Even Chris Bryant's making contact. Andujar's hitting in a nice place in the lineup. Bellinger's making a little bit of contact. Maybe he straightens some things out. I watched a couple games. I tuned into White Sox versus the Brewers. Aguilar just looks solid at the plate. He's in that 3-hole. If Yelich is going to be good, that's going to lead to Aguilar getting his opportunities. I like him. You'll see that I got a piece of that in the slow draft. Victor Robles is hitting. He's making contact, and his profile looks very 5-toolsy. Robles, you look at the bat projections, he's got a little bit of power, he's got great speed. This is a guy we're looking 2020 with some average and upside to build on that. Eloy Jimenez, who they're down on a little bit. Why is his average low? What is he came out, he said it's timing. It's timing. I'm having trouble. Don't worry about me. I'll get it done. Then my main takeaway with Eloy, he is a monster of a man. Eloy Eloy is a light tower himself. He makes Abreu look small. Abreu goes up to the plate. Okay, there's Jose Abreu. He's a big boy. Eloy gets up there, and he is just a giant. He is just a Paul Bunyan of a man. So I got Eloy. I pushed him up a little bit. The thing I don't like about Eloy, he's kind of Nomar Mazara from the right. You know, that big open stance where that leg is out. You know, it looks a little bit uncomfortable. I'm not sure if it leads to too much moving parts. Hopefully he can overcome that because I got a piece of that going. Gleyber Torres, someone I'm up on a little bit here. Devers as that third base with the Vlad issues. Devers supposedly lost some weight. This kid is 22. He didn't strike out a lot in the minors. I looked into his profile. I think he's definitely has more upside. He's very young. They brought him to the league super early. The thing that's most important here, the Sox have been batting him 3 a little bit. I don't know what they're seeing in his skill set. Maybe they're batting a guy high in spring because they want to get him ABs. Or maybe they're considering Devers because of his handedness to break up the lineup a little bit. He might be hitting in the 3-hole. I'm definitely pushing him up. I talk a lot about Garrett Hampson, but we're having some issues with Garrett Hampson because Ryan McMahon is getting some looks at second base. The thing that's nice about Hampson, I've seen him lead off a little bit, which would be a great spot for him because he takes walks and he takes bases. They're also playing him a little bit in center field. Maybe he gets some multi-position eligibility. But roster resources fading him. Talking about McMahon may win the second base job. Realmuto's hitting. Yo Moncada is hitting. Rougned Odor, Shaw, obviously. Moustakas is an interesting piece because he's got third base eligibility, but he's going to play second. Maybe that's your Vlad option. Maybe he buys you some time for Vlad. You slide him over to 2B. Just want to talk about him. Schwarber's hitting. You got to remember that Schwarber's an elite prospect. Even if he gets some limited plate appearances, you're looking at 300 from the side. 30 bombs from the side that he likes to hit. McCutchen's hitting. McCutchen, some stuff came out with the manager. He may have the best eye in the league. He lays off stuff. You just can't strike him out. That lineup is stacked, and he's going to be the engine in front of that. I continue to be high on him. I watch Mad Bum go. I watch Mad Bum pitch. He looks like the same old Mad Bum. He looks like a big boy. You know, I think he's only 29. He's only 29. He's not 31, 32. He can still recover in an offseason. It's been a couple years of weird injuries. He fell off the dirt bike. I think he broke a finger. Maybe we can write off 2 full seasons. Go to his baseball savant. Look, he wasn't good last year, I know. He wasn't good the year before that. Go back to about 2016. Mad Bum had stuff. So in mid-rounds, if you want to take a shot, Mad Bum stuff might return. Yu Darvish is talking about, let me just touch on the pitchers. Yu Darvish said that he thinks he's got the best stuff he's had in a little bit. He might have come back healthy. He's got strikeout stuff. Julio Urias. Maybe the way is paid for him with Kershaw's injury, but they're kind of showing on roster resource that this is going to be Ross Stripling. Josh James, who showed up high in the Arsenal on the Aces score. We got Carlos Rodon. I mean, there he is. When a guy's healthy, he's in the league, he's playing, he's pitching. He's going to bring his full stuff. You know, if he's not healthy, he's just not going to play. It was nice to see Rodon on the mound, throwing that fastball from the left, working his slider. It makes me remember about some of his prospect pedigree. Nathan Eovaldi scored high in the Aces score. I mentioned him before kind of being a new pitcher, adding that cutter, working that in. Fulmer, I'll touch on Domingo Germán. Looks like he's going to start with the Severino injury. I also believe CC's hurt, so Domingo Germán might be a late starter. You can get some early season starts out of. Zach Eflin of the Phillies, get some of that Philly collateral damage. His fastball was up a little bit, and he scored decently well on the Aces score. He's got a little bit of stuff. You know, David Dahl was hitting, they're hitting him clean up. Roster Resource slid him down to be maybe hitting 5th in the order. Nomar Mazara with some spring contact. Franmil Reyes. I got Lewis Brinson. Teoscar Hernandez, he's a StatCast stud. If you go to StatCast, you go, whoa, he has great barrel per plate appearance. He's a little swing and miss, but balls are going to go out. They're batting hit. I've seen him bat a little bit third in the preseason lineups. Keep him in mind. Meadows, some talk of a potential breakout from him in Tampa Bay. Avisel Garcia, he had a fluky season where we started to trust him. And I'll throw in a prospect, Alex Verdugo. If he makes the team, he's out in Dodgerland. Who else do we have over here? Let me just double check. Tim Anderson, power speed threat. I think he's going to strike out a lot. He swings at everything, but he's hitting in the spring. And if he hits, it's going to be power and it's going to be speed. So maybe it comes together for him. I like that. Hampson, Moncada, Odor. Luke Voigt looks like he may have won this first base job. The news came out that the Yankees only want to go with one spot. Get Greg Bird out of here. Give Voigt the reins. Turn my man loose. I've got to throw a name in there. Low at first base. Some guy to just look into. Wilson Contreras is making contact. Get down to that late 2B. Scott Kingery. They want to get him some more at-bats. Gurriel Jr., that's Lourdes Gurriel Jr., he's mashing in the spring. I told you about his 6 weeks of slugging last season. Somebody to think about. McMahon, who wants to get a job, but with the Hampson competition, I don't think McMahon wins it. I think he's too swing and miss. He's hitting pretty well. O'Hearn should be picking up some slack. He's got bad splits. I believe he can't hit lefties, but he's going to get some playing time with the downfall of Salvi Perez. G-Man Choi at Tampa Bay, guy who's been hitting a little bit. Blake Swihart. And the catcher I'm moving up a little bit, even though he's sharing plate appearances, is Francisco Mejia. I like that grand slam. I like that prospect status. He's a nice little player. Let me see if I had anything else for you guys here. All right, that's about it. Big shout out to the subscribers. Welcome back. Thanks for keeping it locked. Seriously, this slow draft is just consuming me. It's just eating me up. I don't know when it's going to end. I'm 5 picks away. Is it going to be in 2 hours or is it going to be at 9 o'clock tonight? I don't know. Let me jump over here. I want to read a little bit about what happened in this slow draft. You know, and how I'm just staying on brand in a way. I had told you guys I had the 3rd pick. I won't read off every name. If you guys want a full slow draft review, I'll give it to you. But I'll just kind of touch on my picks and how I just continue to reach for young upside. I can't help it. I believe that my analysis of the league is going to be more thorough than other teams. I think that as the league starts to get deep and shake out, I might catch some things that fell, some things that I'm a little higher on. But what I don't want to miss out is on young upside, guys who break out. I'm just drafting ceiling. I'm taking ceiling shot after ceiling shot. It's a 16-team league. So in the end, the team's going to have to be special for me to get there. Talent is being spread really wide. So I'm just taking upside. I want the team to be special. And if it's not a dominant team, you know what? It'll be a fun team because I'm taking guys that I like. In round 1, Ronald Acuna Jr., of course. Everything goes. Harper falls a little bit. I'll touch on Aaron Judge made it back to the 3rd pick in the 2nd round. That's a steal. Lindor and Judge stack, that's a steal. The guy who went Chris Sale in round 1 got Story on the way back, steal, even though I don't like Sale there. Comes all the way back to me, and now I'm just trying to defend upside. I haven't been studying ADP. I'm not looking at it. So, yeah, I'm going to be jumping picks. I'm sure that most of the picks that I took, guys were disgusted with, like, oh, he's not supposed to go there. That's not where you're supposed to take him. Well, guess what, guys? I'm draining the pool of young upside. You're not going to get any of it. I get Vlad Guerrero. The real question here, I debated, was Hoskins. Do I go and get the usual? Well, on Fantrax where this league is, Hoskins does not have the 1B eligibility. He's outfield only. That kind of turned me down on him. I saw a couple things in the profile that he's fly ball heavy. He's not hitting it as hard as I want. I stick to my plan. I get Alberto Mondesi, who's not coming back to me in a 16-team league. This thing whips around. A lot of the usual suspects go. Pitching is just flying off the board early, but I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to panic and start reaching for pitchers. I got to fly through these names. The debate was, do I stack Robles here? Do I go get myself some Robles, but I need that 1B, and I know it's going to fall off the cliff. I get me some Jesus Aguilar. I liked how he looked in that spring game. Comes back. It's Eloy time for me. Sure, I might be 3 or 4 rounds early, but he is such a monster of a man. I don't want to miss out on that, and I'm going to have to get some pitching. Gets away from me, comes back. Round 6, end of round 6, Zach Wheeler's my ace. He came at value. He fell through. I'm very happy. I considered him where I took Eloy 16 picks ago. Next couple picks, I followed up with a Miles Michaelis. I'm there. I saw some strikeout potential in the last 5 games of his game log. Pitchers, got to check that game log. See how they did. See how they end the season. See what that stuff looked like from a game-to-game basis. Michaelis is going to give me some innings. Maybe he takes a step forward. The Vlad news came out the next day. I owned Vlad the day before. Vlad pulls an oblique the next day. Panic mode. Get sniped on Devers, who I could have taken over Michaelis. Debated it all day. I'm going to have to try some Nick Senzel. I need him to win that job. So the Nick Senzel Vlad trapdoor approach works. I like Pete Alonso and his 80 grade power. I took him way too early as I want to drain the first base pull in the 9th round. Whips around. I took Babe Luke Voigt. First base is thinning out. I need some corner infield talent. And the guy I want to keep away, despite the bad news, I'm going to draft skills and not position. I got me some Garrett Hampson. We're in the 12th round. I'm 5 picks away. I'm waiting for this thing to come back to me. I see I'm getting sniped. I'm looking at the list right now. I'm going to have to make some picks. Shout out to the subscribers. That's just an update. I want you guys to jump into this league. Hit me an email. Drop an email in the comment. Send me an email. We got to fill this thing up. I don't know. I don't want to drop it to 10 teams. I want to keep it 12. If we got to move the date, we might have to move the date. Get in. There's some slots. Get ready for your drafts. I'm ready to get back into auction. I don't even like Snake this much. And I've just been in a Snake for 5 days. For 5 days, like waiting. Wait, I just want guys to pick. I want them to pick good players. I just want them to pick. I want the Snake to wrap up. I want to do an auction this weekend. I want to be able to control my team. I don't want, the 16th pick, I don't pick for 25 picks. No one's going to be there. Snake is not that fun to me. Auction is where it's at. Get in these leagues. I appreciate the likes. Subscribe if you want to grind some more fantasy baseball. I'm going to give you some more spring training takes. Holler at your boy.